Well, hello. Hi. Hello. It's been a while. It's been a long time, actually. It's been too long, but here I am. I'm back after actual literal years. I'm back. And what a ride it has been. And I just knew the time was right to come back. I had been missing doing my podcast. Honestly, I'd been missing doing my YouTube videos, which this is wild because before I was always doing my podcast episodes just recording on my phone. And now it's, 2026. I feel like everybody's doing video with their podcasts now. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's time. Why don't we just bring it all back? Because my last episode, my last podcast episode was in February of 2024. So 2.5 years have passed. My last YouTube video was June of 2021. So that's been 5 years. Holy moly. And my last Magic Monday newsletter was last August, actually. So it's been a year, which is crazy to me because it's gone by so fast. It feels like it's only been a few months, but so much has changed in my life. And I'm going to be fully transparent with all of this. I have no idea how this episode is going to go. I just knew that I wanted to go. I just knew that I wanted to come back on here and um I'd been really beating myself up for years, being like, okay, when am I going to bring it back? All of my friends, all of my mentors, they can all attest that it felt like almost every call or every hangout was like, I'm bringing back my podcast. I have to bring it back. I'm bringing it back. And then another month would go by and I didn't do it, and another month and another month. And it really was, um, I was pretty hard on myself. But I also knew that I would know when the time was right. And so why is now the right time? Well, it's a feeling, and it's also because I finally feel settled. I finally feel grounded in my new chapter. And it's been a lot. So this episode, I want to talk just kind of candidly about what's been going on the past few years. Because my life is very, very different. I've gone through a lot of changes. It's been a huge transition. I went from traveling, living abroad, having a boyfriend, to all of that going away, to living back at home with my parents, and now in my own space. Um, but I feel like the time was right also because this had been in the back of my mind for a really long time. I'd always, I was still getting emails from my podcast saying, you got 25 downloads this week. And I'm like, I haven't even done a new episode in 2 years and I'm still getting downloads. People are still listening. And I was like, okay, I need to bring it back because, people are still listening, but also I could tell it was something that I knew I wanted to keep doing because I kept paying for it. I did the math and I paid over $500 the past couple years to keep my podcast alive. And I feel like that was such an indicator, to me of what do you actually want to do? Because if I was getting these emails and having that like internal thought of, you need to cancel this because you're wasting your money. I wasn't having those thoughts at all. I was having those thoughts about other things, but for my podcast and from my self-expression, I was like, no, this is worth the money. It's just, I will know when the time is right. And one of the things I did recently was I actually went back and I listened to my last long episode, which was all about slow growth versus fast growth. And as I was listening, I was like, old Andrea, like little old Andrea, past Andrea, she had really good advice. I actually really loved listening to that episode and I was like, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. So it's like I want to put my expression out there again because it's like my goal, my dream really is to inspire others and show other people whatever they can dream of, they can do. And also I want to like do all of this because I love going back and reflecting and remembering and seeing all the things that I have been doing and it's really special, This is why I encourage journaling, making videos, creating content, dream journaling, because every time you go back, I feel like there's always a focus on how to do this, how to journal, how to dream journal. But I think what's equally important is going back and reflecting and there's kind of this notion of, oh, you should always like be in the now. You should always stay present. And I do agree with that. You don't want to always be living in the past or you don't always want to be dreaming of the future. It is important to stay present. But also, it's really incredible when you do look back and you see you're present at that time and you're like, oh, wow, okay. I'm living the dream now that I had back then. And sometimes that can be kind of a wake-up call because I know it's really easy for us to always be thinking, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? When really it's like, no, I'm in the dream right now. I'm presently in the dream. And I can attest, I'm in my dream right now. And I have all these journal entries and junk journal spreads that show that this was what I was trying to call in. And instead of, of course I have visions of my future always. But I'm also like, no, I'm doing it right now too. So it's really helpful to look back. And so the theme of that episode 2.5 years ago was about video games and just like kind of the hero's journey and doing side quests and being on the main quest. And it was always a good reminder for me because, like I said, I was beating myself up a little bit about like feeling like maybe I'm failing. Maybe um, I feel like I'm behind because I'm almost 40 and I don't have my own home. I don't have a husband. I don't have kids. But that episode reminded me that I'm going at my own pace. And just like I did in Hogwarts Legacy, I was taking my time. I was doing all this, the side quests. I was gathering all the tools. And when I listen to that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's literally what I've been doing in my waking life too. I have, just because I'm not out there and I'm not posting on Instagram all the time, I was always feeling bad, like I need to be posting on Instagram. I have my own business. I need to put myself out there more. But then I'm like, I don't really need to because I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot behind the scenes. I'm thriving and I don't really need to push myself or force myself to do something that, I want to get back into that in my own pace. I think that's the key is like you just need to move at your own pace. And so with this episode, I'm hoping that this is okay to just sort of chit chat and almost feel like I'm on a FaceTime call with you. And um, I was going to give kind of a recap of what's been going on the last few years and kind of what's coming up too. Um, but yeah, the last time I did an episode, I was living in Vietnam. I was in Vietnam, and the last time I did a YouTube video, I was just about to leave Vietnam because it was during COVID times and I didn't get my visa renewed. And so, it's called the XC. I got the XC on my visa and I had to leave. And so I went back to the States and then spent some time there and then went back to Vietnam and Bulgaria. And I don't know. It's been so like when I say all over the map, like literally I've been all over the map the past 5 years. But the past couple years since my last podcast episode, I was in Vietnam and I went back through my journals trying to see like why did I stop? Why did I stop recording? And at that time, I had been feeling like I adore Vietnam. I love Vietnam. I love Asia. I love all of that. But I was feeling I actually had a journal entry where I was writing about how I felt like I was losing my spirituality, like I was almost too grounded. I was too in reality, and I was trying to tap back into my spirituality, and it was really tough for me. Um, so I know life was just sort of happening. And also, I was really busy with my business. I was really busy with my clients. And, I think a lot of us can experience this where it's like it's easy to put others ahead of yourself. And so I was doing all this client work where I was helping my clients with their podcasts, with their websites, with their social media. And that was always funny to me because I'm like, how can I create, 30 templates for a client, like no problem. But then for myself, I'm like, I don't know. No, it's not, I can't do it. It's, it's, it's a strange feeling, you know? But I kept building my business, but I knew that there was this feeling inside and I was really missing home. And there was this feeling of like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Am I really gonna be living in a country doing visa runs every 3 months where I have to leave the country and come back? That was like starting to weigh on me. And so I kind of had this thought of I should go home and visit and kind of, see my family, fill that homesickness um and then I got a call. I got a call that my stepdad had a really bad injury. And I immediately knew I need to go home. I need to help. It was a very complicated injury. And I just kept thinking about my mom and like, she cannot do all of this alone. This is going to be a long road. That's way too much on her. So that happened in September of 2024. And by October, I was back home. And it wasn't like a complete, like, I'm going home and I'm staying home. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was just going home to help and assessing the whole situation because there were many surgeries. There was a lot of time in the hospital, and it was going to be a long road. So, at that time, I was in a long distance relationship. And so it was about like 4 to 5 months of caretaking and literally living in my childhood room, which to me was kind of fun. I mean, I was like, they say you shouldn't be an adult, living with your parents, but I kind of enjoyed it, especially because I knew it was temporary and I love living at home. It was really fun. We had a really good time and I was so happy I was there to help and be of service. Um, and then the day came and it was really sad, but Ning and I decided to part ways and it was in large part because I was like, I feel like I need to stay in the States. And he wanted to stay in Vietnam. And it was like, okay, like it's time. Like, so we made the decision. And honestly, it was really hard, obviously. It was really, really sad. But Ning is amazing. And we're still friends. We're still connected. We still check in with each other. And I have nothing but love for him. And I just am so grateful that we handled that with so much maturity and love and care and kindness. And, it took a while I mean, I couldn't eat Vietnamese food for over a year. It made me like anytime I saw like Vietnamese grannies or anything related to Southeast Asia, I was like a mess. I was a mess. Um, but that's how it goes, it just takes time. And so that was beginning of 2025 of being alone and starting over, like everything starting over. Here I am. I mean, think about that. I was 38, living with my parents, no car. I mean, really all I had, I felt was my business. And again, I was pretty hard on myself. I'm like, really, Andrea, come on. But I gave myself grace and it was kind of this like scary time, but it was also this exciting time figuring out, okay, what's next? What I have no idea. I had no clue. I actually have a lot of journal entries where I was like comparing, like, okay, do I go back to Seattle? Do I go somewhere new? I've lived in Northern California. I loved it. I've always considered San Diego. I was trying to think, maybe I should kind of have that environment that I had in Vietnam, the palm trees and the heat and the beachy vibe. So I even considered Florida. And I don't even really know what led me to like officially decide like it's Seattle. I think I just knew and I actually had this I was getting really into junk journaling and there was one spread that I did and I just decided, I don't know if you can see it on the video, it might be blurry, but it says, I'm moving back to Seattle. It's about time. It has been decided. And I wrote this like little card to myself. And it says, Dear Mo, my nickname is Mo. It says, Dear Mo, instead of waiting for the answers to come to you, just make the decision and everything will easily unfold. You create your future. Yes or no, decide and flow. Yes or no, decide and flow. I was like, ooh, that is so good. That just sort of like came to me. And then I have a big um image of yes or no and I circled yes and I was like, okay, Seattle it is. Here we go. Like it made the most sense. And I think a big part of it too. Oh yeah, and at the time I considered Idaho too because my brothers live in Idaho. But I just knew I was like I need to be near water. I need to be near the mountains. I need to be near trees. I had a whole life here in Seattle. I had friends. I know the area. I mean, I lived here for 13 years before I started traveling, and so it just kind of felt right. So I made the decision, and then in June of 2025, I got my new car, and I was like, okay, we're starting to like get back to like real life again, you know? And then in August, that's when I came over to Seattle to look at apartments. I had set up all these interviews. I probably, or not interviews, but showings. I probably had like 10 or 12, maybe. Um, and it was intense. I drove over at like 4 a.m. and then I started my tour and I saw so many different places, and most of them were, I just intuitively knew. I was like, this isn't right. This isn't the right place for me. And this is a great thing for manifesting is like having a list of your non-negotiables. And for me, it was like, I must be on the top floor. That was like honestly my top requirement. And I also really because I lived below people many times before and I was like I'm really sensitive to noise and so I just really wanted to be on the top floor. And I also really wanted a bathtub because all my years of traveling I never had a bathtub. And it's not very common in Asia or even Europe really. Um so I wanted a bathtub. And I will tell you, this is kind of a funny little embarrassing thing, but when I was in Asia, one of the things I missed most about the States was carpet. I missed carpet. Carpet is not common over there at all. It's always like tiles. And I missed being able to just sort of like lay down on carpet. And I know it's silly, but I wanted carpet also because I wanted to make sure that like my neighbor below me wouldn't be annoyed by my noise. And so um I looked at a lot of places. I'm trying to think if there were other, I have a journal entry somewhere with all my requirements. There were also some other, like I made a whole long list, but those were my like non-negotiables. And then the others were kind of like, okay, I can be a little flexible. So I finally get to the last tour, and as soon as I drove up, I'm like, this is it. This is it. I didn't even have to look at the apartment. I was like, I know that this is where I want to live. So I pulled in, met the lovely leasing agent, and got a tour of the apartment. And I was like, I want this. Like this immediately. So I immediately applied. And here's the other thing. It's like back in my TV corporate job, it was super easy to get an apartment because I could just hand them my W-2 and boom, 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 application approved. But having your own business, it's a little different. You have to have all sorts of paperwork and you have to prove that you make like three times the amount of the rent. And so I was like a little nervous. They kept asking for more and more paperwork and more documentation about my business and everything. And it's like I had all of that, but I was like, I was freaking out. I was freaking out. And they kept calling. They're like, can you actually send this too? And can you? So I ended up like, I was literally in a parking lot of Trader Joe's because that was the other thing I missed a lot in Asia was Trader Joe's. I was in the parking lot hotspotting on my laptop, sending them like all of my contracts to show like this is what I'm making, this is what I'm because it's hard too because almost every month I was like making something different. So, and then they were telling me, sorry, I don't want to go on and on about this story, but let me tell you, that night was rough. I would call that almost a dark night of the soul. I was like, because I was so convinced that I was going to get denied because the fact that they were constantly asking for more things. And then they were telling me that the person that like approves all this was like on vacation. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then one of the gals in the office, she was like, well, if you get denied, you could always reapply next year. And that was the comment that like made me spiral. I was like, oh my gosh, am I literally going to be a 39-year-old living with my parents? Uh, I didn't know what to do. And so I was so overwhelmed that night. Did not sleep at all. And I was praying, 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 praying that I would get approved. And the next day, I decided to book a few more tours because I was like was kind of in that desperate mode of like, okay, maybe I need to just like lower the bar. And like all the apartments that I saw after that were like on the ground floor. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I guess I need to just throw out my list and just take whatever I can, essentially. And so then I go to get coffee and I pull up and I park and I get an email and it said, "Welcome home." And I got approved. And I have a voice memo from that moment. And I'm like screaming, crying, so happy. And if you're watching on video format, this is it. This is my home. And I'm like, I did it. I did it. I got an apartment in a wonderful location. And so within a week and a half, I was moved over and I had nothing. Let me tell you, I had nothing. I came over in my car with like bags and a few totes. And then my parents came over with a few boxes. I had zero furniture. I had nothing. I was sleeping on an air mattress for weeks. I had no couch. I had my camping pull-out chair, nothing. So it was kind of intense, but it was also very exciting because I'm like, I get to make my space mine. And so it's been a year. I've been here a year and I've turned it into as close to a cottage as I possibly can. I I feel like I'm trying to manifest a real cottage in my life by turning my apartment into its own mini cottage and I love it. I love my space so much. It's so adorable. It's been so fun to thrift and find these things. You know, I was always on Facebook Marketplace finding my furniture, things like that. I really didn't splurge on anything. Um, but it was just wonderful to be in my space and uh I'm here and I just renewed my lease. So I'm going to be here for, excuse me, another year. And yeah. And it's so the past year being back in Seattle, it's like I've reunited with all my friends. I have reunited with my love of yoga, my love of hiking, being out in nature. I mean, Washington has the best hikes ever. Camping, all of that. It has been so nice to be back. And of course, I miss my travel life so much. And sometimes I do sit and think like, man, like that was my life. That I literally lived in Asia and I traveled all the time. And it's so wild to me. And because now I feel so grounded, like I'm here. And I mean, the best part is I got my cat. I have my little Pixie. So that was something I created. So I do vision boards all the time. And one of the things I put on there was a cat. And it was intense for me though, because I'm like, can I really handle being a cat? Like that is like once you get a cat, like I can't just sell all my stuff and sell my car and live abroad again like I did the first time. Um, Even though it was kind of multiple times I did that, but I'm like, I can't, no, if I have a cat, I'm really committed and staying. And that was another thing that just sort of magically manifested. I had been checking all the shelters around the area for weeks. And then when I saw her original name was Honey Bunches of Oats. When I saw her, I was like, "Yep, that's her." It was almost like this apartment I knew. I was like, "This is where I'm gonna live." And then this is the cat that I want. And so the next morning I went and immediately adopted her. And oh my gosh, Pixie. I named her Pixie. That name came to me a few days later. And that was pff, a challenge in itself because I was like, can I really handle this? Because it was a little rough because I'm adjusting to having another living being that I have to take care of. And a lot of it came from like, did I make a mistake? Like, can I actually take care of her in the way that she deserves, you know? And oh man, she is, I, I am so obsessed with her. I am so obsessed with her. I look at her all the time and I'm like, how are you mine? Like, really? You're, wow. You're my cat. You're my best friend. I love that cat more than anything in my life. I swear. She is the best. We have so much fun. Um, so yeah, I feel like my life is just kind of like, whoa, it feels, I don't want to say complete because I don't think your life is ever fully complete, but I am so grateful for all the things where I am, all the challenges that I had, everything. And, business wise, holy moly, what is happening? Like, pinch me. What is this life? Like, past me w would not believe what is going on in my current life. It's, oh, what? It's crazy. I have the most amazing clients. I love every client that I work with. It's been so incredible helping them expand, and they've helped me expand in so many ways because I work with so many different like healers and just magical beings. And then also just being a part of some communities in these like leadership roles. It's like little old Andrea is leading dream circles for multiple memberships, and it's surreal. It's surreal. Dreams do come true, and sometimes you don't even know what your dream is. It's like I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in like, this is what I want. This is my vision. This is what I need to have happen. But all these things that I'm a part of have been happening just sort of naturally. And it's like some synchronicity will happen, or I'll feel this like little nudge and it'll be like, yeah, do that, join that, suggest this. Or like part of it was me just like full on asking. It's like sometimes you just sort of go into things and then you'll feel something and it's like, why not? Like go after it. So, yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. And so I'm super, super excited because I feel like everything that's been happening in my life, like I was saying before, it's like I've been feeling this like pressure. You need to post, you need to do this, there's always so many rules, especially as like a business owner. You have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, da 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 da. And I finally am just thinking, I'm going to do it my own way in my own time. And I'm going to have fun doing it. I don't want to do it because I have to get results from it or I like have to reach a certain number, whatever that is. I just want to do it because I want to follow through on my calling because, yes, all of these things that have been whispering in the back of my mind, whether that's I want to lead dream circles, I want to help these clients in this way, I want to bring back my podcast. Those are callings and I want to follow through in that. But most importantly, this has been my why I feel like my whole life is just I want to be an inspiration and show people like if Andrea can do it, anybody can do it. You can do it. Trust me, because I feel like I have been so hard on myself. I finally got to a point where I realized I have been saying the same things for years, the same flaws that I have, quote unquote, flaws that I have, the same fears, the same blah, 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 all these things over and over. So I can't do that. I can't blah, 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 blah. But I finally realized like I'm kind of done with that. I'm kind of tired of that. And also, I have all this evidence that I actually am progressing. I actually am growing while I'm telling myself, "Oh, you're a failure because, you've been letting your podcast sit. Oh, you're a failure because you haven't posted on Instagram in months. Oh, you're a failure because you haven't hit this certain number." Da 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 da. Actually, I have all this evidence of, yeah, you're doing pretty good. You're doing all right. And sometimes I felt like a fraud. Like, you're just pretending. You're just like playing adult. You're just whatever. But then I'm like, actually, Andrea, you're living in an apartment on your own in one of the most expensive cities in the country. You're thriving. You're doing well. You're calling in all these things. Yeah, you're doing all right. So stop saying all these things. You're not a failure. So just follow that calling. If there's like little whispers in the back of your mind, if there's something, I feel like this is kind of a good kind of moral or wrap up. Think of the thing that's in the back of your mind that you want to do, that you've been feeling called to do. What if someone said, "Oh, I can just like make all that go away. I can, like the podcast, we can just cancel it and be done with it. Delete the archive, be done with it. You don't have to like, have this recurring thought all the time of, should I bring back my podcast? I want to, da 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 da. We can just make it all go away." What is your thought after saying that? Is that a relief? Like, yeah, actually, that would be nice. Like, just take it away. Take that like desire away so I can finally breathe and relax. Or is the thought, no, I'm, I don't want you to take it away. I don't want you to cancel that because I'm not done. I still have this calling. Because to be honest, if someone said, just delete your Instagram, I probably would be like, actually, that'd be kind of a relief. Even though I do want to get back into posting, I do love sharing parts of my life, and of course, I love seeing parts of other people's lives. I do think Instagram has become kind of this like billboard thing where there's so many different rules. And so I'm currently working on like, all right, we got to shift this like mindset around social media because that's not helping me at all. But maybe there are these things in our lives that it's like, actually, if we took that away, that would actually be kind of a relief. I don't need to worry about it anymore. But I don't know. Maybe there's something that you've been thinking about and it's like, no, I'm not ready for that to go away. And then be easy on yourself. Time is interesting. I feel like we have this expectation and notion that it's like once you have this idea, once you have this thing, once you have this whatever it is, like it needs to happen the next day or right then. And actually, this learning came from my dreams because it's common for us to have a dream and think then that next morning, oh, we need to interpret it because this dream is a lesson or a message for me right now. So you dream, you wake up, you interpret, boom. But that's not the case. Do you know how many dreams I have gone back and read from years and years and years ago? And I'm like, oh, that dream was not for me then. It was actually for me now. It actually makes way more sense to me now than it did back then. So if there's something you want to do and you have this calling, don't feel this pressure of I have to do it this second. Let it naturally develop. I kind of circling back to that last episode of the side quests and the main quest. I feel like I mean, it's always been a main quest. It all is a main quest, but I was doing a lot of side quests and I was just building up my tools. I was building up my experiences, my stories, my thoughts, my beliefs, overcoming things, healing from things. And man, I feel like, that character back on the main path with everything is like, I got everything I need. My little backpack is filled with tools. So it feels really good to be back. I'm excited for what's to come in life, in this podcast, all of that. And yeah, it's good to be with you again. If you're here, if you're new, welcome. Hi. If you've been a listener since the beginning, thank you for still being here and thank you for being patient with me. I appreciate you more than you know. And yeah, I hope you have a magical, magical rest of your day or night whenever you're listening to this. And I'm just sending lots of magic your way. Thank you for being here. Say bye. Good job, Pixie.